office. For more, let's speak to our international affairs editor, Armen Georgian. Hello to you, Armen.
Hi.
So much has been said over this dark chapter in recent U.S. history. Were there any new revelations?
Yes, there were. I mean, obviously, the personal testimony was very powerful, especially the police officer that you mentioned. But I think a very significant thing that happened was the playing of video testimony from Trump's own advisors, essentially confirming that his own advisors believed that the election results were valid. So the device that was being used here in the hearings was to use his own advisors, their words, to discredit Trump himself, and that was a very, very important moment, and playing a crucial role in this panel is the vice chair of the panel, Representative Liz Cheney, who's essentially gone against sections of her own party with her stance and what she's doing in these hearings. Let's take a listen to her now.
Months, Donald Trump oversaw and coordinated a sophisticated 7-part plan to overturn the presidential election and prevent the transfer of presidential power. In our hearings, you will see evidence of each element of this plan. In our second hearing, you will see that Donald Trump and his advisors knew that he had in fact lost the election. But despite this, President Trump engaged in a massive effort to spread false and fraudulent information to convince huge portions of the U.S. population that fraud had stolen the election from him. This was not true.
It's maybe important to remind our viewers that this is not a court of law, so it's not up to this panel to legally determine whether Trump incited violence. Of course, his own lawyers have already said that his now infamous words, "fight like hell for your country," that the fight was used in a figurative sense, the way politicians will say, "I'll fight for you," or for whoever. So they can't do that. They can't do what a court of law could do. And of course, the bar legally for proving incitement is pretty high anyway, but what they can do, what they will be doing over the course of these hearings, is laying out this very comprehensive evidence on the entire sequence of events, not just on January the 6th, but as Liz Cheney put it there, the whole plan over many months to try to overturn the results of the election to prevent a transfer of power to the new administration.
Yeah, and this is just day one of these public hearings, and pretty dramatic day. What's the broader impact of these hearings?
Well, they are relevant to Donald Trump's own future because, of course, he is trying to make a political comeback. And I suspect that Republican strategists, although they may not say it publicly, privately, they'll be thinking when they see him saying things like January the 6th was the greatest movement in the history of our country, they'll be sitting there and thinking, well, you know, this is not going to win us those crucial independent swing voters in the general election in 2024 if he does indeed come back and succeeds in winning the Republican primary. You know, it's one thing to win a base of voters, loyalists who are already going to vote for Trump, but to win independent voters, I'm sure that the strategists in the party will be thinking, you know, that this is really not going to help. This kind of rhetoric praising the rioters, it's not going to break out of the kind of core voters that would be needed to actually get the Democrats out of the White House in 2024 and prevent either a second Biden administration or Kamala Harris perhaps becoming the next president. So I think they'll be looking at those things very carefully. The other thing to watch is, of course, what will the Department of Justice do? Because if the panel transmits all this evidence to the DOJ, it's not impossible that they could actually charge Trump further down the line. So all these hearings are very much relevant to what happens to Trump personally next.
All right, Armen, thank you very much. Armen Georgian, France 24's foreign editor.